Yeah. Stuff was today. It's okay. It's like CPA, isn't it? Yeah. What was that? It was so cheap. Oh, okay.
Oh. Where you going?
I know.
Yeah, that's really annoying. And fans now. Oh, so you can move that around.
Yeah, but it auto adjusts on its own.
Focus.
Yeah, but it's just in the weirdest thing.
Cliff,
Hold on.
Catalina said she was gonna make it.
Yeah.
Call the meeting to order. Catalina Sanchez, our council person supposed to be here, should be here a little late probably. Well, could we have roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Here.
Mayor Farr,
Yes.
Councilmember Calderon,
Yeah.
Councilmember Roberts.
Here.
I hear you.
Pledge allegiance, flag.
Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, Deacon Dan Boger, St. Timothy's Episcopal Church for an invitation.
I was 28 years old when I was elected to the city council. We followed by the Butte Theater out there and this broken sidewalk, and I thought, why doesn't somebody do that? Let's fix that. That's dangerous. And I realized it was my job. Okay. And so I want to thank all of you in council and some staff who fixing our sidewalks and to make our place a great place to live and a safe place. Bow your head, please. Prayer. Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, send down upon those who hold in this city spirit of wisdom, charity, and justice. That with steadfast purpose they may faithfully serve in their office to promote the well-being of all people. Jesus, our Christ, our Lord.
Yeah, we have a proclamation for recognizing two of our outstanding police officers.
Mayor and Council, I want to thank everybody for allowing me to do this presentation to these officers tonight. It's on a rare occasion where we actually get to celebrate what good our officers do for our community and what impact they actually have here. So I have here tonight Sergeant Adam Russer and Officer Clint Massey regarding a life-saving award that I'm going to be presenting to them for a incident that occurred on December 23rd, 2022 at about 9:30 at night. We received a call for service regarding one of our local longtime business owners and Gridley residents for the King Wild restaurant here in Gridley. When the officers arrived on scene, it was determined that this individual, the owner, was in fact unconscious, unresponsive, and had no pulse. Between Sergeant Russer and Massey, both of them together provided and rendered aid to this individual who they were able to revive and get a pulse back on scene, and what is commonly referred to, correct me if I'm wrong, John, you feel the same? Correct. So and immediately thereafter, with the MO ambulance and CAL FIRE arrived on scene, and they were able to continue with this, get into the hospital, which In a matter of days, he was later discharged, and even as of over the weekend, driving by, he's back in the kitchen cooking again.
Wow.
So, very resilient man, but if it wasn't for the great work these two officers did, he wouldn't be here. He wouldn't be where he's at today, in my opinion. And I would like to recognize these officers for that specifically, recognize each one of them. We'll start out with Officer Clint Massey. So I'm going to read the proclamation that goes along with this, as well as what the officer is going to be receiving, which is a life-saving ribbon award, along with the recognition certificate and proclamation. This will be placed and be able to wear this on his classic uniform with other ribbons that he would be wearing. So there's. So in recognizing Police Officer Clint Massey for his actions during an emergency situation, which resulted in the saving of a human life. Whereas Officer Clint Massey on December 23rd, 2022, responded to a call for service at the King Law Restaurant regarding an individual who was unconscious, unresponsive, and had no signs of life. And whereas Officer Clint Massey used his training and experience in the use of cardiopulmonary resuscitation to revive this individual. Now for the City Council hereby recognizes Officer Clint Massey for his actions on December 23rd, 2022, during an emergency situation which resulted in the saving of the human life. Officer Massey's proper application of training and experience exemplifies his dedication to duty, the preservation of life, and the service to the community. So on behalf of the City Council and myself, Chief of Police, I want to say congratulations and thank you for your service to the community of Gridley. And I'm sure that the individual that you affected is as grateful.
Still only have a picture?
Yes.
Yes. There you go. Andre, 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
Brian Mercer, please come forward. For your outstanding service and supervisory work done for that same day on December 23rd. And for your outstanding service and life-saving work, the Benefit Medal and certificate to you for that as well. Now, Sergeant Risser is a former officer of ours who left us for a while and came back as I think I previously explained, and he came back to us as a sergeant, and he's doing a heck of a job. He's learning in the ins and outs, completely evolved his duties as being a sergeant and taking over the scheduling of officers and everything like that. So not just does he have to act as a supervisor in the field, but he also has to take care of all the daily activities when it comes to supervising and taking care of all the special projects that either myself or the lieutenant assigned to them as sergeants. So on top of all that, he assisted in this particular incident as well with Officer Massey. So proclamation recognizing Police Sergeant Adam Risser for his actions during an emergency situation which resulted in the saving of a human life. Whereas Sergeant Adam Risser on December 23rd, 2022 responded to a call for service at the King Law Restaurant regarding an individual who was unconscious, unresponsive, and had no signs of life. And whereas Sergeant Adam Risser recognized the life-threatening situation and instructed Officer Clint Massey to use his training and experience in the use of CPR to revive this individual. And now, therefore, the City Council hereby recognizes Sergeant Adam Risser for his actions on the night of December 23rd, 2022, during an emergency situation which resulted in the saving of a human life. Sergeant Adam Risser's actions exemplify his dedication to duty, the preservation of life, and the service to the community. And I'd like to thank him on behalf of the council as well as myself for that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'd also like to say, on behalf of the City Council and the residents of Gridley, we're very proud, glad that we have officers like these two that we have. We have a very professional police department and one that the whole city of Gridley is very, very proud to have. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you. I would like to recognize as well, one thing I haven't done is the support of the family members that are present that represent these officers. Officer Massey, can you introduce your family members to the council?
Yes, This is my mother Judy. My nephew Jimmy. My wife Tatum, my mother-in-law, mother-in-law Kirk. Best friend from Ohio, Chrissy. She's holding my daughter Harlow. My niece Mary, holding my daughter Harper. And my father in the back, and my sister in the back with your other.
I guess Adam was sneaking and didn't bring him.
My wife's in training.
All right, we'll be forgetting that. But yes, you know, if it wasn't for the support of this, the families and the friends that are here, these officers wouldn't be able to do what they do. And it's equally as important that these families understand just how much of an impact they have on what these got to do on a daily basis. I've known the Massey family my entire life. His father was my baseball coach back way back in the day. Do not listen to any stories he tells you about me. They're falsehoods. I'll deny it until the end. And I'm also familiar with the Mr. Madison mother-in-law as well. From way back in the day. I know, but again, I've known her most of my entire life. So these relationships within the community are highly important, as you all know. And that's one of my unique attributes of my aspects is that the fact is I do have these ties with communities in the long-standing ties that I do have. But I would like to thank all the family members who are here came to support everybody tonight. And thank you very much. And much appreciated.
Great. We'll move on. We got introduction of a new employee.
Evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. I'd like to introduce you to the newest member of Public Works. This is Stephen Edwards. He's the new maintenance 2 worker. When we hired him, he had his water distribution 2 already, and he was in the process of finishing up. All he had left to do was take the test for his water treatment 2. He took it a little over a week ago, passed it, so now he has both water distribution and water treatment. So a big good asset.
Yeah, got that behind you already.
Thank you. I'm here. Proud to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, community participation. The members of the public may address the city council on matters not listed on the agenda. The city council may not discuss nor take action on any community participation items brought forward by a member of the community. Comments are requested to be limited to 3 minutes. Do we have any?
I believe we have a speaker card.
This is specific to agenda item 6.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, so we'll wait until that time. No general discussion parties.
None here.
Okay. Oh, and so we'll move to consent agenda. Do I have a?
I'd like to pull item number 2. Consent agenda
Okay.
for purposes of discussion.
I'll move to approve items 1 and 3.
I'll second. We have a motion and a second on items 1 and 3.
Councilmember Calderon,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Mayor Farr,
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Yes.
Now, do we go to that now?
Yeah, so for number 2, I know there were some concerns from the public, so that was just the only reason I wanted to pull it off consent was for purposes of a community member making a public comment on the matter. So I'm not sure if we just kind of skip to that part. Or
Do you want me to, are you asking that I represent the project to the council?
no, it was just for matters of a public comment being made. Because if it's on consent, I believe it's my understanding that no public comment would be able to be made on anything that's on the consent agenda, correct?
Once you pull an item, then what happens is that you would need to have any questions directed to staff and then open it for public hearing, just like a typical item. And I'm happy to do a summary if you wish that's in the staff report, but then the public comment can be under the
I think it'd
public
be appropriate.
review.
Yeah, I don't need, or no, we can save you the presentation. We can just move on to public comment directly.
That would be an action by the mayor.
Oh, okay.
I'm confused. What do we do?
So I have no discussion on the matter. I pulled it off consent so that a public comment could be made from tonight from a concerned community member on this item. So I don't have anything to ask on the matter.
Once we have the public comment, that's all it is. We don't have to.
It will require, this is reading of title only, so this doesn't require action.
This does require action.
This does?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, my second reading. So the first, the introduction of the ordinance happened on 1/23, January 23rd. And we went through the project and answered questions, and a vote was taken by the council. It was a 5-0 vote for the first reading. And this returns to the council for second reading, which is required by law, which is 2 weeks later. And it's really a matter of good record keeping. And then this is the ordinance that the council actually signs. This is the active item before you. So probably since I've had this little bit, then you could go ahead and open the public hearing and take public comment. Close it if you have any other questions or you want more discussion on this item, then we can do that. And then a motion would be made to on this item.
So we have public comment and then we take action on it. Is that
Yes.
right? You want to go ahead and present the comment? Do you have a public?
No, it was just for matters of the community. If they had any comments, which I know there is,
Just open
to open it. So then you would just need to open it for.
I see. Okay, I'll open this up to community comments on this action.
Question, I talked with Gridley. The staff report under the financial impact, this staff report states that there are no director in direct cost to the city. And my concern is mitigated, like that presented last meeting. This 4 required mitigation measures on page 60. And I'd like the assurance from the planning director and the city administrator that the city will indeed incur no cost for any needed road or right of way improvements or anything else related to these mitigations. And that we be completely by the applicant for the office.
Would you like me to respond?
Please.
Yes, so the project is required by conditions of approval to meet both environmental and project considerations, and those costs are all borne by the applicant or the developer, and the city does not bear any of the mitigation measures or conditions of approval.
And the conditions of approval include all the mitigation measures.
Correct.
Thank you. That's all I need.
Any other comment? No, just take it. I'll close the public comment. And do we take action on this?
Yes.
I move to approve item number 2 in the consent agenda.
Councilmember Calderon,
Yes.
Mayor Park,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
and Councilmember Sanchez.
No,
Okay, we'll move to item number 4 in the consent agenda.
Items for consideration. Sorry.
Items considered number 4. Right. Fire chief.
Sorry.
All right. Help me.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council and guests. I just wanted to come and give you a very brief recap of the fire we had on Virginia Street. It's a significant building and threat within the community. And we had a pretty close call that Sunday morning. So Next slide. The fire report came in early morning, about 7:44 is when our first 911 call came into our command center. The guys got on scene in 4 minutes. You know, that's time for them to get dressed, get out of the station and get there. And they found the building at 110 Virginia Street, about 20% involved, heavy fire upon their arrival, and rapidly extending, had a north wind on it, which is the, I think what we felt was the worst case scenario of that building was a north wind event. And I'll give you some explanation why here in a minute. And so they knew right away they had to get a quick knockdown if they were going to get ahead of it. Otherwise, you'd have a new parking lot here in town on the south end of town. So they got after it pretty quick. I'm assuming most of you have been in the building or familiar with it. When I first got here, it was up and running, and I can remember every fall, a lot of dust coming from that facility. It's now been abandoned, gone through several ownerships and now been abandoned. And it's a very hazardous building. There is a whole underground network of pits and auger pits and tunnels and subterranean spaces where they stored some of the product, the rice that was in there, and the machinery that ran the process. So this is a building that tends to kill firefighters that go in there. And so I used to tell them when I was at the station, worst case scenario is a small fire in the building where they have to go after it. I would prefer it look something like that because those are easy to fight. The problem is they got there really quickly and got after it and then knocked it down and had to go in after it. So made me very concerned. We had been tracking this building for a while. Being that it's abandoned, the police department and we have been there quite a bit on incidents, small fires. We've had several near misses with small fires. While we were on one fire, we found 2 others that had occurred and just smoldered themselves out. This is an old building, heavy timber construction. So very difficult to get after a fire that gets in a building like this. I think you go to the next slide. So the guys got a quick knockdown, and then what they had to do, and if you notice in here on the left and over on the right, the fire got underneath and was burning in that subterranean area. And so they did what we call a trench cut. And they cut the building from load-bearing wall to load-bearing wall, and they took a whole space of it out. And that fire, as it came up, it hit that trench and went up and out of it, and then they put the water underneath there and stopped it. So very labor-intensive, personnel-intensive, equipment-intensive, because of the thickness of the floor. They're running those saws through there and cutting all that floor and pulling all those boards with the air packs and everything on. But they got ahead of that fire pretty quickly and got a good knockdown on it. And the last slide will show you what it looked like later on from kind of looking back towards the north here. So, you know, I mean, I think there's a fine line between getting rid of the problem, but, you know, we can't really engage in that. We can't just when it's that small amount involved, we just don't let that happen. It's obviously now more open. And so more difficult to secure. And I don't think this will be the last fire that we have there unless it gets torn down by the property owner. But I just wanted to give you a highlight of that and that if there were any questions on it. It is on our radar. We worked with the electric department. They did pull all the power. So we're reducing the hazards to all of us and the community. The biggest threat in my mind is a fire like that and then a partial collapse of the building. There is a fine coating of rice dust still in there and an immense amount of garbage that has been dumped into the pits that are in there. So the fire loading is increasing. The concern I have with the dust is if we have a partial failure of that building and that dust gets lofted up, it will ignite and explode. And so dust explosions are fairly significant. They're not that common in the Midwest. In the mill industry, they are very common. You'll see the silos that blow up from those every year or so. You'll hear about one, and that's always been my concern. That north wind blowing, once that part of the building burned off, I was really nervous about that, and I think they got ahead of it fast enough. So there is a fairly significant threat to the neighboring businesses down there, and we've done a fair amount of pre-planning. And it's widely been distributed within the department. So everyone knows what the mission is when we get there, the resource order. Immediately they went to a second alarm. We got a ladder truck out of Marysville and one out of Chico. The one in Orville was down for service. So
And that way, we're gonna be able to protect the businesses on all the corners and keep that thing from getting over to the neighboring businesses. But I just wanted to give a quick report on that in case there were any questions.
So you have identified additional buildings that are potentially fire hazards?
We do, yeah, so we look at buildings, you know, from a hazard perspective, and we look at them from the potential to cause damage to other buildings. So the cannery would be an example of a building that, you know, we anticipated having a fire there at some point, and then we did. But it really didn't pose a threat to anything outside of that facility, right? I mean, it for all intents and purposes, if that building burnt all the way to the ground that night, it really wouldn't impact anything else other than if it was in the summer and it was spreading through the wildland, which we've had an easy time stopping. This one's different because there are buildings around it. So there are a lot of those types of buildings in the community, and we look at those as their threat to the other neighboring buildings and how we would address it. Today, the guys were downtown, kind of doing a walk, and what they do is they go in and they look in the businesses. And look, today they were focusing on basements. And apparently, and some of you might not, I didn't know this, but there may in fact be a tunnel or a basement access that goes from underneath Hazel Street from near 88 Hazel over to the ag data side. Is anyone familiar with that?
Say that again?
There may be a tunnel that goes underneath Hazel Street. Almost every building downtown has basements in it.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, and so we find those, and you'd be surprised what we have to go in there and do, find people and get stuff out of there. But so they believe they're following the lead that there may be an access point that you can walk underneath Hazel Street from 880 Hazel to over to the other block.
Is this something new, or has it been there?
Been there, yeah, supposedly been there. Now, whether it's open or it's even there, they don't know, but that's what they're working on. And then we had a fire in Indiana Street while they were there. So they were downtown when the fire in Indiana Street happened today.
That's good.
Yeah. So anyway, to answer your question, they do, that's what their job is to pre-plan, is to look for, to kind of lean forward towards a hazard that's out there. In a bigger occupancy like this.
So the owners know that they have a potential fire in their hands, and what can they do about it? How can we?
And speaking with Mr. Wagner, I believe that this is kind of going down the code enforcement route right now, because of the dilapidated. We've had pieces of it blow off in the storms, and we've actually gone and helped them secure it, pull metal down, because you know, those big tin sheets would fly off, they'd kill someone. So we actually have gone up there and helped them rip sheets off that have been coming off that 3-story section. And so it's been on our radar, and now when it gets, we have those really cold mornings, every time we have one of those super cold mornings is when I anticipate us having a fire in there, right? Because that's what's causing people going there having horrible fires.
Because there's been a number of fires in that area.
This particular building in itself is owned by a trust. The person who had it stored a ton of property in there.
Yeah.
He passed away about 3-4 years ago. He has, according to the daughter who was here at the trust that I spoke with on the phone a number of years ago when he passed away, the father has 6 properties similar to this, not necessarily in structure, but in contents. So and those properties are strewn out between California and Nevada. And they've been dealing with this with the trust. They tried to sell the particular parcel after he passed away. They did a decent job at first of securing it, making sure it was not getting broken into. At one point in time, when it was getting broken into on a regular basis, she was able to send a crew up here and re-secure it. Now, the catch that is they did it for such a good job re-securing it, people gave up trying to get in through the standard access points and then cut through the side of the building. And at that point, it was, old far, unless they did something very dramatic in order to try to come and secure it, there was no way to do so. The other added problem to this, and it's been alluded to, is the fact that in the area that you saw on the pictures, it's fairly open, not a lot of stuff in there. What you're not seeing is in the south end where all the pits are, that the entire thing is completely jam-packed full at one point of, you name it,
Yeah.
antique, You've seen, most of us here by seeing the stack of the old, dehydrator pallets that are out there from the prune dehydrators. Okay, imagine the stacks you see outside tenfold inside. On top of everything else that was inside there previously from a tenant who had a fiberglass manufacturing business where he made fiberglass bodies for 30s model car. So you have those flammable liquids in there and stuff from his stuff, which over the years have been filtered through, things that have gotten stolen, et cetera. But the biggest problem at this point is what Sean is related to, is the fact that the 3-story tower and the heavy timber construction, as well as the directly to the north of that, is a wood silo. Okay, that wood silo is at least 2 stories.
Yeah.
And by makeup alone, it's nominal 2x6 construction, so it's actually 2x6 pieces of wood that are literally stacked on top of one another, flat.
Oh, really good fuel.
Okay, so and then the other problem with that is underneath that silo, it has 2 gangways that go underneath on both sides. There's different access points to get you into that silo. The problem with that is like he was talking, the subterranean areas underneath those 2 gangways, it's too dangerous for you to be walking underneath there. Half of the stuff is half the board and stuff are missing, and it's so inherently dangerous not to go in there regardless of what the situation is, unless you're going after somebody who's wanted for murder. That's too dangerous. No lights. It's not someplace anybody needs to be in, let alone anybody looking for a place just to stay for that.
And to add to the hazard, right across the tracks, you have a daycare or a preschool.
But there's exactly, you have Head Start on the one side and then the other.
I do have one more question. Does the fire department provide a classification for at-risk buildings like this?
Nothing formally, no. So we basically, it's an internal thing that I sent out to everyone and said, just be aware that we're going to have a major fire in this building. And so I laid it all out, and that morning, they were all coming going, hey, when's the next one? And I said, well, the next time it gets really cold. So they're all aware of it. And there's really not much else we can do. It's difficult because it sort of moves, right? So if someone came in and fixed it, then I'd have to pull that. But they know all the guys here locally, and because of our way we dispatch and everything, all the battalion chiefs know. So their situational awareness is keyed up, that if they hear that coming at 110 Virginia, that it's potentially fires.
Sean, I have a question. In the last 2 years, fires that have, and I don't know, you don't have to come up with a, specific number. How many structures were set on fire by bums compared to electrical wiring or other, just accidental causes? What's our ratio right now? I mean, I have a number in my mind.
I don't know if I can put a number up, but I'll just say that the fires that occur in abandoned buildings by people who don't own it are high.
Okay.
And it's high, and it's not just buildings, right? I mean, it's wildland that goes to buildings. It's I guess the recycling center. I don't know what else to call that place that was on the corner of West 99.
Right.
That fire, which got pretty significant, was some homeless people had made a home inside of some of that material, and then a fire started in there, and then it spread throughout that facility. It's closed the tracks down. It's high, and so there most certainly is a nexus between homelessness and fires, and we've seen it time and time again out on the Denise property. We've seen it in this facility. We had fire scars in the cannery before we had the big fire in the cannery of homeless people that were going in there. Abandoned buildings. We had an abandoned building fire this afternoon down on 99. There was an abandoned house just right north on our side of the county line. that was an abandoned building that I suspect was that, I mean, if they don't have power, there's no lighting, and that kind of.
Well, and I guess what my point is, it's not the building or the structure at fault here, it's the bums that are lighting the fires.
Correct.
So we need to figure this out moving forward, because a couple of times, the last time a fire we had out here, these bums lit on that property on fire, and the winds were blowing towards Biggs. If they would have blown the other way, the winds were very high that day. If they didn't blow the other way, it would not have been good. And that would have been common sense to stand there and say, wow.
Agreed.
It's gonna happen. I mean, we just need to figure out what we're gonna do to kind of minimize that. So it's.
Right.
I think we're lucky that Sean and I have been talking about these issues now for at least,
Yeah.
knowing full well that these things are coming. Plans in place, even maybe plans that may not necessarily be all
Don't get me in
what
trouble.
they should have been. Without some of the you have done.
I said it was big one, and then some of those.
The scenario you're referring to was.
I'm over 50.
Yeah.
I can say that on outside of the time.
If we had to.
I mean, we have to look at it realistically. You know, we use the word homeless, and those are people that deserve our help. Like we did with Paradise, people coming down from Paradise and building a place for them to stay. True homeless, we can feed them, and Gridley will do that. But bums are not homeless people. They're people that are taking advantage of us, and they're going to burn us down, or they're going to steal stuff. They're going to. I hear a bunch of stuff going on here that has never happened before, and it's caused by these bums. So, you know, we need to come up with some ideas or something to, run the bums out of here, and we'll help the homeless people. We'll feed them, and if they truly need, our help, but the bums need to go down the road.
Just the Butte County Coalition, along with multiple agencies in the county, and including our department, just got through doing the point in time survey, public survey. So with that, obviously the numbers will be coming out as to what they were able to track from Gridley and what services were offered and who. In preliminary numbers, actual individuals within the city limits, they only counted, I think it was 4 or 5. Outside the city limits, to include the Denise property, they contacted, I think, an additional 8 to 10. So your numbers, what you're referring to, are fairly low, but it's not necessarily the numbers that are the issue. It's the makeup of that population.
Right, and I guess until we separate, and I'm not afraid to say, until we separate homeless people from bums, they're classifying everybody as a homeless person, as a victim of something that they couldn't help on their own. But these people choose to do this stuff. They choose to take advantage of the towns that they're in, or our town, or whatever. They're burning us down. It sounds ridiculous, but that's what's happening. Right after this fire, wasn't there another fire that was started here in the last couple of days that they arrested? Did you guys arrest somebody that was trying to start a fire?
We have been very busy with that. I don't know the particulars of that particular one, but I do know, like I said, the second one that we just had today was a abandoned building, and there are small fires, big fires. So I mean, countywide, it's an issue.
And the thing is, they're doing it on purpose. They're not that stupid. They're doing it on purpose, and I'm pretty sure they realize nothing's going to happen to us. There's a revolving door at the county. It's frustrating for the police department, you guys, because the same people are back out. The same bums are back out 3 days later, burning up more buildings. So
we're working on another plan for the Denise property to the city again that will be will keep us in the boundaries of where we need to operate. Working with the landowner. So hoping at some point something will happen out there, permanently to fix it, but short term, we'll come up with a solution that'll get us through next fire season, provide a barrier to this community from that property.
I know that the sheriff's department, behavioral health, and some of the homeless coalition folks have been making a more of an effort to be out there to identify who specifically is staying at what sites. They have gone so far as to, if they can't identify these folks, they actually figure out who they are and then take them to get proper identification and or issue them a identification with a name on it, so they can at least be available to give services as needed. Everybody out there has been offered other places, other housing. For whatever reason, they've either declined it and or otherwise not eligible.
Well, they choose not to take it.
Basically,
The choice.
we did have one individual who was offered assistance out there, offered a house to live, and because the landlord wouldn't take the 2 dogs, they refused, even though they had children. Because they wouldn't take the dogs, they refused a free house.
So it's a choice.
So frustrating. And quite a percentage of them out there is not just has some mental health issues, but mental health issues that is a direct result from their illicit drug use over the years.
Which is another
Services are literally being provided to them. They have a right to refuse.
Sure.
And
Of course, to refuse.
I'm sure as well that, no matter how much services you provide to these folks, it's a matter of whether they decide to accept them or not.
Sure.
And the majority of the individuals out there prefer to live the way they're living. And it is their choice to live the way they're living. And even if those choices are in conflict with life itself.
It's really difficult to stay warm at this time. I'm having a hard time. I probably would like to start a fire in my house because it gets pretty cold sometimes. But yeah, there's a lot of things that influence people who are homeless. Some substance abuse becomes a factor. The other one is a mental illness. Mental illness is difficult to overcome. When somebody is depressed, you just can't move on when you want to. Your mind is not working like most everybody's. And their response to treatment is brief. That's the problem. It's very brief. So working with the homeless is a challenge. It's definitely a challenge.
I had something just to add a little bit to what Bruce was saying. I had a couple come to my house yesterday, young lady. Her mother passed away and they were putting the cement around her headstone out at the cemetery, which is out of the city, it's county. But before that cement could sit, the homeless came in and took the frames off of that, which destroyed them able to make that headstone fit. And as we talked about, she said that they were stealing the 4x8 sheets that go over the top of the gravesite, stealing those, and anything that'll burn, they're going into the cemetery, helping themselves to it to keep warm. So it's not good what's going on. You wish you could put some teeth in this, and grab them by the neck and put them someplace, but I don't know if there is an easy answer, other than the taxpayers are stuck with the bill of this mess we got here with the Hinneman dryer and that you just had and all these other things. It's a tax-paying populace is paying for these people to live that lifestyle they think they have to live. And I know I'm singing to the choir here, but it is.
I do know that the sheriff, county code enforcement, public health did make a site visit out to that particular property. Because of some of the things that we, Chief Power and I had highlighted to the different channels that we have. During the large fire that you talked about, we found a hand dug well that was about 15 feet deep and that they're getting their water from. So apart from it being a sanitary issue, I mean, it's right next to railroad tracks, terribly dangerous. Luckily, none of my guys fell into it in the smoke. So those are the things that I think we're gonna try and do is I can only address it from our angle here and mostly I think I just wanted to highlight that we recognize there's a problem. I just want to make sure that you know that we're leaning forward on it and that we're not just reacting, that we're positively in there looking at these facilities about how can we minimize the risk to the community and other businesses here and the impacts on the community. So.
Well, if we hadn't had you guys on station doing this, that would have been
Oh, yeah.
disastrous. With
One of the captains told me we were about a minute from going from 0 to 0 because they barely caught that thing. So
I don't know how you stopped it, because that thing, tinderbox.
it was impressive. They did it, but I'll tell you what it was the pre-planning. It's the fact that they knew the building inside out, so they felt comfortable going into where they went to, that they could mitigate the risk. And that's what it's all about, right? Is being able to mitigate the risk. If you're unsure, you know what, and like the chief said, I'm not sure, I'm not chasing that guy through there. We feel the same way. But if you're sure and hey, I got this, I can go in and cut it off here. So that's kind of what they've done and that's what they were doing today when that fire came in on Indiana, is they were downtown pre-planning. So that's one of the things they do to increase that situational awareness.
Well, we're lucky we have him.
Yeah, I agree. And it's kind of a shame, but I'm glad you guys are doing this experience that, you guys are gaining experience from these type of situations. It's not going to a total waste. But unfortunately, we all know that, and when it hits a housing tract here in town.
Yeah.
I think then people will realize, and that's when people will stand up and demand stuff. We just want to be ready and have what we have been able to do to. We can move the bums down the road, that's fine.
Well, we're gonna keep pushing to get that into the county's weed abatement program and get some teeth on that. We were the first recorded official process in that for the Denise Brand property. I was the first one to test that out. We made it all the way to the end. We didn't find the work. So we found a workaround for that. This year, I'm hoping I'll get some traction. If not, I have a couple other options we're gonna put in play. And so I think we can reduce the risk significantly to the community by in an L shape coming from the highway over to the tracks and then north to the edge where we go back into ag land and reduce the impacts on the community.
Chief, am I right in assuming that's still a Hinman Trust? The dryer.
Building that you're referring to for the right.
Yeah, Hinman dryer.
Not that I'm aware of. I cannot remember off the top of my head the name of the trust that is overseeing it, but it's not him.
But I was through gossip, I guess, heard that the youngest daughter was the head of the trust, unless they sold it.
It was a female that I spoke with. In
Heidi,
what's that?
Heidi.
I don't recall. It was been a couple of years since I spoke to her.
Well, I guess.
But I just know it was part of the trust and the guy who had all the stuff stored there.
Where's Daryl now? Who we need to contact about?
They're gonna, my understanding is talking to the code enforcement and her coordination in with Cliff and the city is going to determine who actually is the owner of the parcel and see if they can't move forward with a form of an abatement or a compliance process. Because obviously there's a process for everything. And it's not a short window process. It's a lengthy process.
We are, this is just an articulation of a level of awareness that we have at the staff level. We've spoken about this in some detail. Assessments are being made for the cleanup because that's the phase that we're in. Obviously, the fire department did a great job taking care of the fire. Now it's a question of cleaning up and securing, to the extent that we reasonably can, the property on an abatement basis if that becomes necessary. We're gonna, through the formal notification process, give the property owner the window of time through notice to effectuate the necessary cleanup and to abate the hazards. One of the hazards is access. There are several hazards. They'll have an opportunity, once those have been identified and communicated, to effectuate the abatement. If they don't, we will lien the property. Ultimately, the city, although we may expend some effort and some resources in the near term by way of the abatement process and the lien process, if necessary, we will be made whole.
Yeah, because it's a bomb waiting to go off.
Well, there is a limit to the degree that we can mitigate the risk that exists there. We will work to secure the physical facility. We will work to mitigate as many risks as we can, but ultimately, we can't mitigate everything.
Right.
Did you mention that you finished your investigation into the cause of the fire, or is that not occurring?
No, so.
So what does that process look like?
So we did a cause and origin, and because of the amount of destruction, it was basically, we basically get down to two things that we can't, well, I guess you could say three things. So human cause, right, there was no lighting that day, so we get down to human cause. I mean, human cause would be either reckless, which would be someone having a warming fire or some type of fire inside the building. Arson, an intentional act, or electrical. There was electrical service to the building. There was no way for me to step down in the sub panels and say, breaker tripped, chase those out. Okay, now I see there was a heating element. Because the building's not in use, there was just service to the building. So we worked with electric that day. They moved the service. So now any additional fires that happen in there, we know are down to two factors, right? Intentional, unintentional. So what I will tell you is that it was really cold that morning. Remember, we just had the rainstorm, the north wind was blowing. I can just tell you 98% that it was a warming fire that got away from somebody or was left, some remnants. There were burn barrels. The last two times we found burn barrels there, I had the guys take sledgehammers to and smash them flat so they couldn't be reutilized. But there's no shortage of those that they can get to. So, it's just that's what caused the other fires was burn barrels in there. So, yeah, we're trying to, and we can only go through so much. But yeah, I would say the cause and origin would be challenging on that level of destruction. And we didn't bring accelerant dogs in or anything like that just because it didn't warrant it, because the state of the business, it had been an active business, up and running. I would have brought ATF accelerant dogs in to look for that to pinpoint, because that's a loss to the business owner, the community, or hostile act.
And then by chance, do you know when we would get the final point in time count? Is that a county or state?
The
The homelessness, individual count.
Point in time count, those statistic data are supposed to be being compiled now, and I expect to have something in the next couple. Like I said, the preliminary numbers that we had officers directly involved with the count. We had less than five members of the city of Gridley, and I know they contacted less than 15 people at the hospital.
Yeah.
Those are the numbers I've been able to confirm.
Yeah, I think bird's eye view, these numbers sound less than, I think, what we actually can see out in the community. So I'm not sure if maybe they're.
Let's not, when you say less numbers, less the community, so I can probably name all 5 members of the community off the top of my head who they were. A lot of the ones that you see in the community come from the Denise Ranch. So it's not necessarily a double stat, because it's not, because we have these people already memorialized of who they are and who lives where. We've gone to the extent separate from the Housing Coalition. The county has to go and create a map of all the camps that are out there and identify them by site number, or alphabet A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And identify who is living at each site by name, verified. That's what we've done separate from the county. Our last count out there, there was 7 camps and 11 individuals.
There are a lot of camps out by the river during the when we were potentially going to have an increase in water. DWR called us. We sent our water rescue guys out, and they went to all the camps on the river to warn the people. So there are quite a few in the county between here and Biggs in our chunk of the river, and then all the way to Orville. There's an extensive amount.
So out here at Denise property, so when they do this count, the state's gonna do this count.
They've already done it.
Okay, so the purpose is what? Is it to give them mailboxes, or, I mean, I don't know.
The purpose of the point in time count is to provide services to these individuals, provide them avenues to pursue, to make them whole as individuals, and to provide them with services. A lot of times these individuals, they can't get services, they don't have identification. Housing Coalition brought in individual people in, they got them identified, provided them with with forms of identification that were acceptable to other governmental agencies so they could get their food stamps or the cash aid or other things they don't necessarily have available to them. Additionally, what this identification provides to them is the ability to receive other services besides just financial and food services, i.e. mental health services or other governmental services that they have available to them. So that's the other purpose of these point in time surveys as well. And a lot of it has to do with the securing of state and federal funding to come in, availability to come in to assist those individuals.
And that's where I was going with this. This is all about the money coming from the federal government to come in. It's not gonna solve any problems. It's just gonna keep this thing circling and, it's a choice. They're choosing to live the way they do, and they're going to be providing with free services, so they continue choosing to live this way. And, it's a, obviously, we're gonna have some more fires because of this.
There's a pretty good system that has been developed in Chico. It's fair. Regarding the homeless. Now they include a mobile clinic. So they can see him, I think by the tourist shelter. There's, the count is basically for funding and the resources that they can get or the county can get from the state.
The only problem with that is, right now, state of California has got more homeless people classified as homeless people, and people coming from out of state and moving to California because of those resources.
I understand.
Okay.
But
if we're gonna do this, this isn't for us to solve, but if we're gonna do this and we're going to help people, actually help them and use this money and spend it wisely, like we should, like common sense people can put it together, is use this funding and say, this is what we have to do for the mentally ill, for the people who are on drugs, and they need to go into these programs. It's not a volunteer.
The problem is that the toll on human life is pretty high. I remember the year before I retired that there was a lady here who lost her house. She lived outside the city limits. She lost her house because she couldn't take care of it anymore. So she ended up living in the motel right here, Gridley Motel, for a couple of days. Ended up in a shelter in Chico and was found dead of exposure a couple of months later. So yeah, sometimes, circumstances are difficult for them and they don't have the support system to adequately help them or assist them. This is just a band-aid that the state is providing. I think what we need is a comprehensive re-entry program that includes not only the services, but employment, even if it's
I agree with you.
And the other thing, there's a lot of people out there that, and I got to talk with a chief not long ago, that there are people out there who receive Social Security on a regular basis, but they don't have enough money to actually pay for a down payment for an apartment or a house or rent because the Social Security check is too small.
I think we're kind of getting into the weeds here. We all kind of know what the problem is. We all secure an answer. I think we should move on.
Okay. All right. Thank you. If you have any questions. Okay. Have a good day.
Thank you.
We'll go to item number 5, or we have an informational update from our new director, Jake Carter.
Mayor and Council, thanks for having me up tonight. Start out by thanking you guys all, the entire council, for giving the opportunity to be part of Team Gridley. It's been a great reception so far. Department leads have been great partners and people to lean on along with the staff. There's a lot of things going on in California, a lot of things in the electric industry, some a little bit more intense than up north. So I'm getting up to speed on those kind of items. upon my arrival down here, I have other people in the industry, friends that reached out to Scott Corwin, the executive director of the NWPPA. He immediately sent out a greeting email to me, along with many of the members of the NCPA, which he works with all the time. So I immediately got invites and welcomes in from NCPA and also some other utility directors that are around here. I was able to meet most of those people at the what's that called? The Strategic Innovation Conference that I attended. Other things going on, I've met with some contractors and had discussions with them on developers on how we can better partner with them and current developments and future developments. I think, contractor developers were pretty happy with the discussion that was had. I've been reaching out to equipment manufacturers. You guys are aware of the issues of trying to get anything in the electric side. Any type of equipment is really hard to get. So I already know this from purchases up north that they're throwing out 700+ days to get a piece of equipment when it used to be 240 days. So I've reached out to Terex, Altex, Duralift, VersaLift, because we have a bucket truck to purchase in 2024. Currently, they're saying 770 to 900 days on an equipment purchase for that type. So I'm engaging in those things early. There are a couple other ways to kind of get into equipment that I'm also vetting out. So making contacts for who those reps are in this area. Other equipment been dealing with. We got a 1-ton dump truck or dump box, dump bed, flatbed that we're replacing. I was able to find a secure a new chassis, cabin chassis, and working on getting the box portion of that nailed down too. So those things are, as Ross knows, he's searching too. I talked to the Chevrolet, Ford, Dodge manufacturer reps for the area, for the government, and you can't even put an order in for a vehicle. So reaching out, I was lucky to find a cabin chassis down in Fremont, so we got that secured. Been going over the PIP and the budget with Lisa and making adjustments there and moving forward towards next year. What else here? Lisa and I are going to be on a conference call tomorrow with Bernard from NCPA, looking at the futures for gas and power purchases for Gridley. So that'll be an enlightening conversation tomorrow. Probably pretty intense. It's only an hour, but I'm sure it's gonna be a lot of work going on there.
It'll go on.
Yeah. Other projects, the property that was purchased between the fairgrounds and Cal Fire in our building right now. Reached out to the fencing contractor, and since I wasn't here when the original bid was put out, we kind of regrouped, looked at it, modified it a little bit. I talked with Chief Fire and Fire Chief today, and we're in agreement on what that plan is. I just got to get a couple more bids to go with that. I also reached out to Matt at the fairgrounds. The fairgrounds, I guess, can be partnering on that 400-foot line between us and them for cost. And I think that's about all I have in a nutshell. Kind of.
Sounds like a lot. That's good. Sounds like you're moving out.
The toes are in the sand and the water's up to the shorts. So
Sounds like you hit the road running.
Yeah.
Record, Jay.
there's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts, a lot of things to get caught up on. Like California is a little more intense on the environmental and movement of green and EV and all that. So I've also reached out to one of the EV charging stations, got a meeting with them on the 26th, I think.
And you're getting dialed in on NCPA, right?
Yeah, I mean, and those meetings
That's
are
an important one for us.
Yeah, and very similar organization to NWPPA and OPUDA and NRU and the organizations that I was used to dealing with up in Oregon, Washington. Just a different organization, public power. It's the same kind of a movement. Obviously interconnected with the NWPPA, which is a group that I did a lot of stuff with before. So moving and shaking, trying to keep up.
Great. And Mr. Mayor and Council, I just wanted to chime in real quickly and remind everybody, we had a period of some intense weather conditions. The winds we didn't really see the level of wind activity to the degree that was forecast, but we've had an incredible amount of moisture. We've had a handful of trees, but exactly zero interruption of power. And so I just want to express my appreciation because, you know, the conversation in the community changes when lights go out. Well, it's normal because we have a good team that does the tree trimming in the appropriate season, that is cognizant of the potential impacts to our system and are taking mitigation measures to make sure that the lights stay on and calls to our council and to my office are kept to a minimum. So you got a great team and we appreciate what you're doing.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you can only do as good as your team is supporting you and have teams on both sides. So I also think Chief R and the dispatch department, one thing that I didn't have here that I've had up in other jobs is having a reporting log of coming in the morning, trying to figure out what's going on for the day, because what happens the night before, the weekend before impacts what I can do today with my crew. Here, it's not as impactful, but it's a smaller system that you don't have a lot of outages. That windstorm up north, I would have 5 crews and 6 service crews. I would be counting on one hand how many people are available in the morning to do actual plant work. So it's nice to have those reports and I've been getting those in. So thank Chief and his department for that too. So any questions?
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please do.
Okay, move on to item number 6, resolution number 2023-R-002. Donna?
Yes. This project was actually scheduled and noticed for January 23rd of 2023, and the council continued it at the request of the applicant. They had several questions. There were some duplications of conditions, and so we had a conversation. And so the amended conditions are now with the staff report that they've also reviewed. This is resolution 2023-002. It's an application for a tentative subdivision map to subdivide one parcel consisting of approximately 12.5 acres into 5 parcels. 2 of the parcels will be reserved for commercial, which abut. Do you want to go to the next slide? Which abuts Highway 99 on the west side of 99, and you can see the throat. There's an access from 99 into parcels 2, 3, 2, 4, and 5. I'm sorry. On the most westerly portion of the site is an area that's going to be dedicated in fee to the city of Gridley for a future extension of Washington Street. That extension is noted in the 2009, 2010, 2030 general plan update, which planned for future development of Washington Street being extended from Manuel Vieira Park south, across Dookie, across the Butte Water District, and then into the southerly parcel, and then making an easterly turn that would be located by Obermeyer. So this is forward long-range planning. When you have a project come forward, then you actually look at your general plan and make sure that you implement your general plan, which is what this project is doing. It's also bounded on the north by Butte Water District easements and to the south by Reclamation District 2056. In the course of this particular action, I'm going to bring forward to you, though it's not a decision-making portion of this project, which is the impetus for this map is Orchard View affordable housing. So if you would go to the next. This is a plan showing Orchard View 1 which is directly connected to the throat, if you will, on the commercial site, and Orchard View 2 and 3 are located to the west. The first phase is 48 units. The second phase will be, and has not been approved yet, will be 36. And the third phase is 12, totaling at 96 units, which will be affordable from 30% to 60% AMI of Butte County. These projects are supported by HCD, Housing and Community Development of the state of California, and have been granted CDBG funding, both from Butte County partnering for Orchard View 1 and Orchard View 2 is partnering with the city of Gridley for affordable housing. These projects, all 3, also are under the legislative action of AB 430, which is a staff level review. Over the past several months, Council and Planning Commission have both had questions related to why didn't we see this project? And it's based specifically on state legislation that states it's ministerial If it meets the zoning and the general plan, then it's a staff level review. And so we went through it and Orchard View 1 has been approved. The original project that came forward had an access at the very southerly boundary, which is adjacent to RD 2056. This went through an IR process with Caltrans. Caltrans said, gee, if you have it at the southerly boundary, then you're only going to get right in, right out. We'd like to see that move. So the applicant spent a great deal of time and expense, and they moved it forward. Caltrans also noted that, gee, since you have two commercial and intensifying the uses, even though it's zoned commercial, that you will not be able to have access onto 99. So those two commercial properties will have to take access from that center area. So with that, the applicant then proceeded to design the throat of it, providing actual divided entry and exiting, and both those commercial sites will utilize the multifamily entry into their sites. The red line that's shown on this particular map is not the property boundary. That's a setback that the project is done away from RD 2056 on the south side. I don't know if it's clear or if it's in your staff report, you can tell. But these boundaries actually are located in are centrally located in these districts' waterways, if you will. So on the southerly boundary, the property line is the center of that RD 2056 canal, as well as very close to centrally located, but more on the southerly side of the Butte Water District canal itself. We've had a lot of discussion with both districts in terms of where the project will be and the access points and how will they access it. There have been discussions related to where the property boundaries are, and staff has certainly encouraged communication between the surveyor and both districts to identify that. When we receive an application, it's provided to us. The tentative map is developed by a land surveyor. I'm not a land surveyor, so we accept that map is correct. They've looked at all of the easements and the lines are where they should be. If there's a discrepancy of where those lines should be, it's up to the person or parties or agencies who determine, well, we disagree with that, for them to have a conversation with the land surveyor who's preparing the map. Our role for the city is to accept the map application, to review it. We look it over and make sure that it meets the Subdivision Map Act, and then it moves forward through the process. On January 11th, I believe this project went to the Planning Commission for review. The Planning Commission is not the approving body. They provide a recommendation to the City Council. The City Council then makes a decision based on the Subdivision Map Act. Is this map consistent with the Subdivision Map Act? And can you make the findings on this map? In the resolution itself, there are 9 findings, and the City Council needs to consider whether or not this map affects the health and safety of the community, if it meets the general plan and zoning. This is on, actually the findings begin on the first page of your resolution, that the site is physically suitable for a tentative map of this nature, that the design of the subdivision or proposed improvements are not going to cause public harm, that the design of the project will not conflict with easements acquired by the public at large for access through or property within the proposed project, that it also conforms to the Subdivision Map Act, and that it's consistent with good planning and engineering practices. This project, there have been comments that access is now being denied to various agencies, and access is still able to be given for the in-fee dedication of the city property along this on the westerly boundary, which is 60 feet, as well as conversations with the district, the Butte Water District, that they felt that access should be also granted in other areas, which then the applicant said, well, there's certainly aisles and roads where you could gain access as well if need be. At our last meeting, Dave Harden, our city engineer, had indicated this came up again. This project came forward, and the city looks at easements and rights of ways and in-fee dedications. And we assume when those were dedicated and given and granted to these agencies that they provide an adequate area for them to access and that a project would not impact that. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. If you would go to the next, I think there's one more slide. This is just another composite that's a little bit larger that shows the setback from on the south side of the project where the RD 2056 canal actually extends 25 feet to the bottom of the bank, the toe of the bank. And then the parking area is actually set back another 28 feet from that base. The access that I was talking about through the parking area up to the water district's easement, which is within the property boundary, would be that north-south, if you will, aisleway that ends in a sort of a turnaround. If you can see on the most westerly side, can you point with, you know where I'm talking? No, over. I'll do it. So this, let me, where's it? Okay, there. It would be this area, this aisle. You could access the area and also again on the westerly side of the project site. This will have reciprocal access easements for utilities throughout the site for access to all of the developments. So this is, although this is a plan development as far as the reason why this subdivision the subdivision is being proposed. If this project were to go away, the decision that you're making is whether or not it meets the subdivision map act and if it's a good project and meets all of the findings that you can make, whether or not it's affordable housing or not. However, there are constraints with this particular project with Orchard View in that the map needs to be approved and recorded in fairly short order, or funding will not be allowed.
How much on the north end of Water District easement? How wide is that?
I didn't read the easement myself exactly. I believe it is 60 feet and it looks like there's about 20 feet that extend into the property.
The center of the ditch of the.
Yes. And the same you can see on the north property boundary. Most of Butte Water District's canal is located on the Stuckey property. And then Stuckey, it appears from the map that they prepared that Stuckey has erected a fence. I don't know if it's the district's or if it's Stuckey's fence that is on the north side of the toe bank of the district's property.
I do have a question if you don't mind. We received a letter.
Yes.
And there is some safety concerns that they're addressing here. So have you?
We had a meeting, and I don't recall the exact month, but we had a meeting with the water district and they were requesting that the city request and condition the project that the canal, the irrigation canal for Butte Water District be encased in piping. The state of California has what is called the Mitigation Fee Act, which means that there has to be a nexus. If you require something of a developer, there has to be a nexus between the property, the development, and why that could be done. And then there's levels of which you make that consideration. We found that there is no nexus, which we informed Butte Water District. We're not ignoring their concerns.
What do you mean by that? No, I didn't.
The city of Gridley is not able to just say, gosh, that needs to be encased. So we're going to charge this developer, we're going to make them encase the entire thing for $1.5 million or whatever the cost is. We can't do that because there's no nexus. There's no impact of this project on their facilities because it's separate properties and easements.
But my question would be, we worked with the property owner and the agencies, the canal, to try to get some grants.
Yes.
Okay.
As a part of the discussion that the city had with the water district staff, the city of Gridley is very interested in helping these districts obtain grants in order to encase and mitigate these issues that are important. The applicant has moved forward actually and applied for a grant. It's called an IIG grant, which we signed and supported. And it's I don't have the exact numbers right now, but the purpose of it would be, if it's granted, is to and use it as partially to encase this canal.
So what does that mean? Partially?
Well, we don't know what the costs are. At the time of our meeting, we requested the Water District to provide us with some specifications and design standards where you could evaluate and identify what engineering costs would be. How big would the pipe need to be? How many manholes do you need? What kind of sealants? What kind of pipe? How deep does the pipe? All these things. And it's a public project, so it's prevailing wage also. So there's no way of really knowing. We can guesstimate how much that might
Have
be.
they provided that information?
No, they have not.
What are the consequences of not approving this today?
Not approving the tentative map.
The solution.
If the resolution is denied and the map is not moved forward, then the grant funding, both from the county, the state, and the city, would not be able to be utilized, and the project would probably not be able to go forward.
And what grant funding is that? Because that's not, there's no mention of that, of grants funding this project in the report, unless I missed it.
No, because this project, Orchard View 1 and 2 are separate and not a part of the tentative map consideration. Your responsibility with this map is to look at it in terms of the subdivision of the property into 5 units from 1. And in the creation as it's shown, and that it meets the Subdivision Map Act. The funding, the actual projects themselves are separate and not a part of this action that you're taking this evening. But to answer your question, the funding is through the HCD, CDBG grant funding. There's also tax credit financing for affordability. And of course, these are long-term affordable housing for families, which is for 55 years of 30% to 60% of the AMI, which is the average median income of Butte County.
What would be the consequences with the Butte Water District if we approve it?
I would like to defer to our attorney, who's probably better able to answer that question.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, what would be the consequences for relationship? How would it be impacted with the Butte Water District if we approve this? Because they suggesting, recommending that we don't approve this resolution.
Yeah, so I've reviewed the letter from the water district. They're asking that the city condition, as Mr. Decker said, the approval on, certain improvements to be made to their property. I will defer to Ms. Decker that if there's no nexus between those things, then that is not something that the city can require of the applicant. I will say, as it pertains to the district's position that their internal policy regarding how they wish to operate their canals has zero impact on the city's ability to adopt this map or not when it comes to setbacks, encasement, fencing, or otherwise, right? Their request or internal policy that we have to have so much room between our canals and, family housing is irrelevant to what we're talking about. If the question is, what's it going to do to the relationship between the district and the city? That's a practical question and not a legal question, council member.
So there is an encasement being planned anyway, right?
There's an idea of encasement being planned. The district has indicated they would like the canal to be encased at the cost of the developer on this project.
Total cost of the developer?
We don't know. The city engineer has taken a look at it and believes that it's probably over $1 million.
Okay, so we've had plenty of time to discuss all this. I remember talking with Mike and I, including the city, over discussing this canal. The last thing that I said was, why don't we work together to try to come up with a grant to try to encase that? And I guess how many months has it been? We could either get a yes or no, there's no money that's provided. I'm looking at the safety of people who are gonna be living there. I think this is something that, you know, a drainage ditch is one thing, but a canal with running water in it that we used to all swim in around here locally was pretty dangerous. So, I mean, am I right? And it's right up next to apartments and stuff. It's right there. So I guess I'm just frustrated to where, why can't the canal district and the city and the owner come together to find a solution? It seems like nobody really wants to work on it from what you're telling me.
No, the applicant has. They've applied to the state for a grant
Right.
specifically for this, but that approval or that granting for this project has not been given
Okay.
yet. It's in progress.
Okay, and how long is that gonna take?
I don't know. It's the IIG grant and they anticipate a decision within the next 6 months, but I don't really know.
So that was applied for when about,
I want to say probably about 3 or 4 months ago.
okay,
Well, for the benefit of nothing else is safety, because it sounds like there's gonna be multiple families in this project. And we have an open ditch, open irrigation ditch, already, I believe, it's 2, maybe 3 people drowned in kids, drowned in already. And also, as rumor, I understand that Stukey's on the north side of this canal is thinking about also putting in housing of some type or another. So that just doubles the threat of young kids jumping in that canal and drowning. To me, I think the project should go forward. We need it, but we need to go at it in a safe manner and how to get that dangerous ditch height, so it's not an open ditch for children to go out there and play in and drown, and it's gonna happen. And if that happens, the lawsuits are gonna go crazy on us.
Well, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, if I can participate, I was present at the meeting and I have, I think, fairly expressed what I believe the city's and the council's posture is, a desire to work collaboratively with our irrigation district and the reclamation district. The decision that's in front of council tonight is preliminary with respect to the overall completion of the project. This is something that's going to take some time. So from my perspective, given that the applicant, the developer, has and is pursuing grant funds specifically for this project, that doesn't prohibit the district and the city working together to pursue federal appropriations of funds. Our congressman is now a ranking member of the majority in the House of Representatives. But that just happened in November. So that change potentially affects our ability to pursue resources. Our assemblyman may have access to resources by way of the budget process. Our senator may have access to resources by way of the budget process. But each of those things will take time and cooperation. The encasement, when precisely this section of irrigation district is indeterminate yet, as of yet. If the grant is approved, but the funds not appropriated for 1 year, does that justify stopping the project now? It's reasonable to move forward overall with the acknowledgement that we must respect the I think there were 1918 agreements that established the ingress and egress rights of the district. And I think that planner Decker has articulated how that would be effectuated in terms of access, assuming that for a period of time, that water conveyance canal is not enclosed as of yet. The optimal outcome is an enclosed canal. However, the applicant has demonstrated a willingness to mitigate. Again, we talked earlier about the buildings in town. There's never going to be a time when we are able to successfully mitigate all of the risks. Even once this canal, assuming we're successful, is encased, it's potential for the same population to go 100 yards further and access an adjacent portion of the same canal that's not encased. This council will never completely mitigate away all of the potential risks.
I agree. By the same token, the Highway 99 presents the same risk. And how many people have had accidents there? And I know a couple of people who actually died from trying to cross the street there with poor lighting. So, the risks are there. Homeowners, those who purchase home in this these are going to be a project, can be aware of the risks as well.
At this point, I'd like to open up to public discussion. I know.
Questions?
Go ahead. One second, I have to.
So, for my understanding, so is there a canal both on that south end and the north end
Yes.
of the map? Okay. I know this map wasn't included in our report. And then back to my question on the grant funding. I just want to maybe recommend that I think it would help us make a more informed decision if it is specified, if there is grant dollars attached to the project, just so that we know, because I mean, that's essentially tax dollars already being invested in this. And again, it's just to make an informed decision for our knowledge. I mean, unless they feel otherwise, but I mean, to me, that tells me the fiscal impact. I know that can vary between what city staff believe is a fiscal impact, but if there's a fiscal contribution, I see the grant dollars being in that. Because that to me is saying that that's where our grant dollars are going into the community. Because that makes me question what other projects have come before us, and I am not sure of if those are receiving complimentary grant dollars already.
You talking about grant dollars for
this development.
Went or just now.
Last time.
Right, I think that each time this has been brought forward, the discussion came up that this involves CDBG grant dollars. And we, like every other community, we receive and compete for available dollars. Those dollars have a lifespan. They have to be implemented and used. We have the ability to prioritize their usage. There's a range of usage. And it was determined that, this particular project will result in a pretty significant number of affordable housing units between 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units. The proponent has already invested an enormous amount of energy and frankly resources in our community, having built the Ford Avenue apartments. They are completing the Sierra Sunrise apartments as well. They build good properties. The difficulty with the alignment that they face is that the approvals have to be done in sequence and successfully. If not, the tax incentives as well as the grant eligibility collapses. And we don't get anything there.
Yeah, my question was, if we were to approve the resolution that's up right now, and it came forward that no, they couldn't get the grant, they couldn't afford to encase the canal, is it, well, it just gets to go ahead, or do we still have a way that it comes back to us, or?
Well, we're not prevented from concurrently pursuing state and federal grant dollars contemporaneously. That's why we requested the engineering specifications, size, flow rate. That's where a partnership with the district kind of comes into play. We need those things for this area and the other areas that we forecast. We could run into a similar concern. It's entirely possible for us to partnership with the district to pursue additional funds outside of the developer's pursuit of the grant. And worst case scenario, developer doesn't get the grant. Fences are installed. It's made inaccessible while we continue to pursue grant dollars for the ultimate encasing of the area.
That was my main concern. I just didn't want anybody dropping the ball saying, now we're just gonna move forward with it without that. As long as we're doing that, pursuing that.
Well, in full disclosure, it would be a desirable feature for the city to have an enclosed area that could then be deeded to the city and a bike path installed connecting to the completion of Washington. I mean, there are practical uses for that space.
Which is what we did years ago at Heron Landing.
Right. We have every reason to pursue that.
The only thing is, in my mind, the developer gets the project done, no encasings in, where's the motivation to get that thing done? The developer's got his.
Well, as Senator Decker articulated, and our attorney spoke to, under the law, and I'm not an attorney, but there is a nexus requirement. We can't hold the developer accountable for this infrastructure improvement. We can work with them, but we can't require it. And to use the power and the authority of the land use regulation authority of the city to do that is a misapplication of the scope of authority that we have.
No, we can't require it, but common sense says it needs to be done. I mean, if year after they develop this, if a little baby dies in that ditch because we didn't figure out how to get it encased, that's gonna be sad for the person that dies, plus the lawsuits that are gonna be horrendous.
I agree, Mr. Mayor, and this is exactly why at the meeting we attended,
should be
we asked for the
some
engineering.
teeth in this if we go forward on getting that ditch covered. And I don't know how to go about that, but I just feel that it's strongly that we need to make sure that it's not ignored after the development's done.
Right, but neither the city nor the district can compel or place that burden on the developer. If we agree to shoulder it, it's ours, it's the district's.
But don't we approve proposals coming before us based on certain conditions that have to be accepted by the developer?
Where there's a coherent lawful nexus, yes.
Any more comment, council? Yeah, I'm gonna open up the public. I know Butte Water's here, and I'm sure they have. If they have some.
Yeah, someone on Zoom.
I've got a speaker card from Carlos Valdez on this item. There.
And also a representative of the project
Okay.
is on Zoom.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members, staff members. Name is Carlos Valdez. I am a team representative for companies local union 46 represent on Sacramento area, all the way up to Oroville.
What union? I'm sorry.
Companies.
Okay.
Yes, I would like to talk about standard wages and benefits. Now that we're talking about this project, what it seems to be there's going to be a preventive waste project. I just want to make everybody aware of what we get with the area standard wages and benefits. One of the things that we get is healthcare apprenticeship and area standard wages themselves. When it comes to healthcare,
Do you know that nearly 50% of California workers rely on some form of public assistance? Also, 1 out of 4 construction workers in California lack health insurance. That's 2.5 times the rate of California workers. Also, the apprenticeship is something that we need in our community. It's vital for the youth, so we don't end up on the streets, as a bomb. And, it's just a really, a very bad deal in California nowadays. Apprenticeship programs are a proven escalator to the middle class, training tens of thousands of California residents every year and not those taxpayers. Also because of the increased wages and lack of student loans, construction apprenticeship can be a better option than a traditional undergraduate program for many of our young community members. When it comes to the area standard wages and benefits, we need for the construction workers to get paid area standard wages and benefits. So they are allowed, the workers are allowed to work on the same place that they work on. Instead, I don't know anyone of you, but I've been traveling, as a construction worker, 2-3 hours just to get to the job. By the time you get done with the 8-hour job, you end up spending 14-15 hours, away from home.
Sure.
So with this said, I would like to ask you that it seems to be that's going to be evaluated, but sometimes it looks that way, but it doesn't always go that way. There's ways that the developers use to get away from that, and doing that is a crime for our community members. Because if we want to help the problem, we have to help from the bottom. It is it's unacceptable that construction workers are not available to buy a house. The houses that they build because they don't get paid stuff, and we end up paying for it one way or another. And I would like for you guys, you can make it a condition for the approval of the resolution to make sure that every kind of rates and benefits are going to be paid for the whole project. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor and Council, if I can speak to that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It is already.
Federal dollars come with federal regulatory requirements relative to prevailing wage. Because this is partially federally funded, it would be by definition a prevailing wage project.
Assuming that it is built that way in the end, right? And I mean, because all we're doing today is approving a tentative map.
Right.
We're a long way away from them receiving funding and breaking ground, but
Put
yeah,
conditions on what
not hypothetical.
we're not doing that yet.
I have a.
Jacob Sterling.
Hi, yes, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't.
Oh, hi, guys.
We can hear you.
It's right there. It's your computer. No.
Yeah, hi, so I wanted to give you guys thank you guys for letting me talk today. Wanted to add a few pieces on to what Donna was saying earlier. We did apply for IIG funding. We are not positive if we have the money yet. We'll know in the next week or two, but we're 80 to 90% sure that we have received the funding. And if that is the case, then we have no problem undergrounding the canal. Hello.
We can hear you.
Hey, that was the important part right there, so.
Did you guys hear me? Did you guys hear what I said?
Yeah, we heard the beginning that.
Yeah, so if we are able to, we have no problem undergrounding the canal, but we won't know for one or two more weeks However, if we do not receive the IIG funding, we just don't have the money for it. It's a $1 million plus expense, and we don't have that in the budget. So we're really praying for this money to come through.
Okay. Yeah, my comment would be, I'm glad, I just want to make sure we're working on that, working towards that.
Totally, yes. And we will know for sure in the next week, or definitely within the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
I guess, we just like have an opportunity as Cliff may mentioned to,
I don't hear good, Mark.
I think you mentioned something that's good, and I appreciate what said that we could have the opportunity to continue to coordinate. I think we have our engineer here and we can supply some information as far as flows and size of pipes and maybe some other costs that we can kind of continue to coordinate together. I think you all have already expressed our concerns. One mainly was health and welfare, health and safety. I personally, in my career, have witnessed 2 drownings in that area, one of a toddler and one of a 12-year-old. So I don't want to ever have to experience on that again. So we would like to coordinate and help out any way we can to see that the canal is underground. The other thing is we have to have access. Just alleyways is not essential. I know I don't believe we have the boundaries as yet defined, but that's going to be essential. Years ago, I referred to it as the Tokeno property. It actually was built onto the district's right of way there. We can't even get access off the highway. You mentioned the Stookie fence that was put up. That's actually on the canal bank. So as of now, we don't have real good access to that canal. We've developed, I believe, a kind of a prescriptive right of way, so to speak, along the side of the canal, and that's how we've been accessing that for years. It's going around the buildings out on the highway and then accessing it down on the side. Also, we have concern that siphon going into the railroad and over the cannery has plugged before, and we nearly have that water backed up on the Highway 99. So that's a concern for us too. There's just lots of things that can be addressed, but I think I agree if we continue to work together, I think we can address those. So, thank you.
Good evening, Jeff Spence. I'm the Reclamation District or Irrigation District Engineer. I'd just like to point out a couple of projects around Gridley. You know, we're talking about the Nexus study or the Nexus to trigger this in the first place. And I'm not the expert on this, but there's 3 subdivisions, and it was brought up earlier regarding the Heron Landing. That was a requirement. And I don't know if it was a requirement of the city or if it was a LAFCO requirement or who made that requirement. But that was an open ditch that was required to be piped as a part of that project. The Stenzel property at Keep Me Orchard Estates was just recently approved by the city, and it was apples and oranges here because this project is already in the city limits. Stenzel's was annexed in, and that was a part of LAFCO's requirements was to fight that ditch also. I believe the third one of recent years is the Eagle Meadow South, when Jim Baines owned that. I believe that was a requirement of piping that canal. So there is a precedence here of the city and or other governmental agencies requiring these ditches to be piped. And, you know, they may be apples and oranges as far as why, how, and why they are, but that needs to be considered.
Yeah, you can share with us maybe what law or code section was referenced. Yeah.
I don't know that. So all I'm saying is they have been a requirement from a governmental agency to pipe those 3 subdivisions. Off the top of my head, I'm not thinking of any that have been allowed to remain open adjacent to new residential. If this project was, and I don't remember when it was annexed, and then well before my time, but if that project would have come before the district probably as a residential project. It probably would have been recommended to be piped during that annexation process. But this was always zoned commercial. It was assumed that there wouldn't be residential aspect here, and that's the difference.
And how long would you say that canal has been there? Like 50 years?
120.
Oh, 120, okay. Okay, yeah. Yeah.
The other thing is that some of the, a comment there, the deed for this canal, there's an error in it, and I don't know where the error is from the surveying side. But it's either 15 feet or 20 feet from the center of the ditch. So if you go out there and measure, pull a tape off of the center of that ditch, there's not much room to maintain it. There is when the property owner granted this to the district, they also granted the right to access other areas on this property, the ability to maintain it. And that probably didn't show up in the title report for the subject property, because it is a separate parcel. So I don't know if the owners were aware of that or not. So, but that was pointed out in the district attorney's letter. So. All right, any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Wagner, is there a way to amend the resolution? To include, I know that
To our attorney.
Yes, it's already been done once. It was continued and amended already once, is that
Yes.
correct? Yeah, so you could seek to continue the resolution for potential amendment and, ask staff to bring back those potential amendments. Does that answer your question?
Is there something specific?
I couldn't hear what the developer was saying, but did he say that his grant is coming through, or was it? What do you have to say?
He said, Mr. Cerruti said that they anticipate a decision within 2 or 3 weeks. And they feel positive or confident that it may be looked on, but they don't know for certain.
If we delayed this for 3 weeks, it would affect the money, the grant money?
It could.
Okay, we have to look at that too. Yeah.
They have time constraints for the map to be recorded in March, April. For funding to be secured.
do you think we could probably include this? Send it to whoever is providing the grants, who evaluating the grants, to reinforce the need for a positive decision.
Well, the current grant applicant is the applicant for the development. This particular communication is between the district and the city. I think that the grant application that they have submitted will be evaluated based on the criteria under which they submitted. I don't know that the factors pertaining to the safety considerations are going to exert themselves as those criteria are evaluated.
Did they provide a copy to the grant?
The grant application? No, I don't have a copy. I can certainly get one and forward it to the council members, though, should you wish it.
Well, if you're saying that this is, so we can hold off until March, I guess, potentially for that first CDBG deadline, could we push this out to the next February meeting?
No.
That's what she's saying. This is it right here. I have confidence that this is probably going to get passed, and if it doesn't, the administrator Wagner has said that we will continue working to try to get that. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And
That's what I think, that working together with the districts, other districts, canals, ditches, or whatever, that's what we have to work together to try to get this stuff done. And it is for a safety concern.
So keep that in mind. I know we're being crunched from all sides here. So, well, I feel that the city really needs the development. That's a fact. We need to keep our development coming in. But we need to protect our waterways, which is the lifeblood of Gridley. So, I mean, I think I would vote to go ahead with it. Based on what we've said here tonight, that if they don't get their grant, that we're gonna turn heaven or hell to get that ditch piped for safety, if nothing else.
Is that a motion?
But even at the city's expense, to encase that.
No, city can't afford it. No, however, we gotta, I don't know what direction we'd go if they don't get their grant, but we need to do something.
Mr. Mayor and council members, we have the ability in concert with the district to pursue state and federal grants. There is also budget dollars, although, you know, we're seeing indications out of Sacramento. There's a process called the member budget request. We can work with our representatives, work with the federal and state level to action member budget requests. As we do that, it's going to require a particularly high and very real level of cooperation between the city and the district in order to gather the data necessary. If we turn this over to our federal representative and we have a specific ask for a dollar amount, we need to also provide him with the data and the engineering specifications that are commensurate with the ask, so that it's a coherent package. We can and will do that. It may be the case that becomes unnecessary if the resources come through with the applicant's request. Then what we ought to do is circle the wagons with the district and look at the next affected section.
Yeah, because we're gonna set a precedence, I assume, for future developments that have a canal that's or an irrigation ditch that's right there. So
we should do an inventory of our entire system to see where these interfaces exist and get to work mitigating them.
Sure. Yes, I agree. Any other discussion? Mr. Coughlin?
Yes, observation with regard to underground. You may want to keep in mind the city's last attempt to enforce underground of drainage issues was in Chips House about 24 years ago and lost pretty big time against Chips in Colorado. So
If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Coughlin, I think that was a drainage ditch, not an irrigation ditch.
Yeah.
Carries less volume. Yes. Any discussion? I'll close the public comments if there's nothing else, and I'll accept the motion.
I will make the motion to accept resolution number 2023-R-002.
I have a second.
I'll second.
Paul, please.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilmember Calderon,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Vice Mayor Johnson, excuse me.
Yes, all right.
Mayor Farr.
Yes.
Sorry.
Motion carried.
We got some else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Resolution number 7 on the list, resolution number 2023-R-004.
This is, you get inundated with planning this evening. This is a resolution 2023-004 for the city council to allow the city administrator to enter into agreements with the county of Butte related to parcel ownership. And this came before the city council on October 3rd, 2022 last year, where I expressed that in talking with both agencies, the city public works department, and as well as the Butte County Public Works Department that there may be an interest in a land swap or land transfer. On the upper portion of the screen, you can see the block where our Laurel Street Corporation Yard is. And recently, last year, we finalized the purchase of 235 Virginia Street, which is directly to the east of Laurel Street. And then the properties to the south, which is 205 Virginia Street, is also owned by the city. Butte County came to the city requesting information related to what would need to happen and how could they tear down and rebuild the site. And in the course of those discussions, then we turned to developing a site in the industrial park, which was described to the council in October. The benefit, there's some benefits that really cannot be calculated in that the current use of the site that Butte County operates out of an 860 Cedar Street. They park heavy equipment on our streets. They have agreements with neighbors parking heavy equipment. They have large pieces of trucks. They can't store enough of their equipment. And in the course of our conversation, even the redevelopment of the site is still too constrained for the growth of Butte County's Maintenance Corporation Yard. And to be able to be effective and also in not going through the city downtown area with their heavy equipment to meet their needs for maintenance. So in the process of evaluating this and coming back to council, we took a look at what the appraisals were for 235 Virginia Street. And then we recently had an appraisal done, which we brought before council for the industrial park, and the values of each property are very close. The industrial park is slightly higher. However, again, there's incalculable benefits to the city of Gridley having the development move, because then it's also beneficial to Butte County and that they can exit their site on roadways that are designed for heavy truck traffic. So what is attached to your the resolution simply provides the city administrator the ability to enter into negotiations and sign contracts on behalf of the city council. And then also attached is the agreement. It's a draft agreement that was prepared between the city of Gridley and Butte County. The city attorney looked at it. The city administrator has looked at it. I had a couple of just, you know, this is the lot, not that. And so it's there's a couple of exhibits still not a part of that agreement that will be taken care of. One of which is the actual legal description of the property. The tentative map came forward late last year to you. And so we're working on the final map. And with that final map, there's lot closures and sizes and all kinds of things that happen with that final map that should be coming back to you probably in the next 60 days, we hope. But until then, those legal descriptions can't be actually generated because we don't have pipes in the ground showing these. The location of the site, which we call lot 9 of the industrial park, is a part of the lands that was reserved in the long-range property management plan that was adopted in 2015 by the State Department of Finance with the redevelopment agency to divest our property. So essentially on the lands to the west of the north-south Independence Drive remains with the city, with the exception of lot 4. And the remainder, which is on the east side, are properties that came before you with an appraised value that are going to be marketed and for sale and developed. So what the city was able to do is carve out this particular lot out of lands that are designed to be for future government use and are not going to impact our agreement with the state of California for the divestment of the properties for the revenues to the taxing entities that forestall collection from property taxes. When this is a reminder, when each of the properties are sold, those funds go to Butte County, the controller, and then is distributed by the percentage of each of the taxing entities. So the city of Gridley will gain approximately 18% of each of the sales, just as a recap of the appraisal discussion that we had. We feel that this is an equitable exchange. It allows the continued use of the entire block for the corporation yard, although the future plans eventually one day would be that we would have a corporation yard out here because we will continue to grow and we'll expand. We'll have more people and more equipment and more things that may not fit on our particular site all at once, that we'll have a small satellite out here, but for the time being, it's beneficial. And Public Works has indicated as well, it's beneficial to them to have this site also as a part of the corporation yard. Then the city of Gridley will have the entire block to use for their equipment and storage and so forth. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do you see any expenses to the city for this switch?
No.
It's an 18% gain on each side that you were saying, is that right?
Well, in this particular transaction, we feel that the exchange is equitable so that the city of Gridley would become the owners of 860 Cedar and Butte County would become the owners without a monetary exchange of lot 9 as highlighted on the tentative map.
Yeah.
That's before you. The sale of the properties that are lots, there's 6 lots that will be marketed, and of those, we will gain approximately 18 or 19% of the sale.
But this is right hand to left hand on the
Yes.
on the other one. Okay.
So sorry, I got confused. So how large are each lots? So lot 9 and then the 860 Cedar Street lot.
860 is approximately 0.2 acres and lot 9 is significantly larger, 2.5 acres. As noted in the staff report, the value of the lot at 860 Cedar Street is about $16 a square foot. The value of the industrial park is about $1.65 a square foot. So when you do the math, it's very close to being equitable. Plus, again, the other benefits of the city of Gridley where the roads won't be torn up any longer with the heavy equipment. Conflict between residential uses and heavy equipment and maintenance yards and so forth. So there's definitely, we believe, a benefit.
Safety to kids not running around the street with heavy equipment moving down it.
Pardon?
The safety to kids playing in the street when you have heavy equipment.
Correct.
Any questions, City Council? Open up to public discussion. Is there any?
I object to the trade of property proposed by the city of Gridley, County of Butte. Due to the, number one, the absence of a complete appraisal of both properties. These are basically back of the envelope estimates of value based on some questionable numbers, particularly with respect to the value of the Cedar property. The absence of a report of the structural condition of the existing warehouse and substructure. The absence of a comprehensive environmental safety assessment of the Cedar Street property, which is already known likely have significant issues with groundwater contamination, underground depths and hazardous waste. You may remember the city is already informed from the research in the proposal for the 235 Virginia Street property that the ground over there has likely have underground tanks, likely has groundwater contamination, likely has hazardous waste, similar to the findings for 235 Virginia Street. You also know that 235 Virginia Street is not fully usable because of a contamination of pesticides. Also, you may remember that the valuation of 235 Virginia Street was based on the assumption that the owner did not want to sell. It artificially raised the value of that property to a rather ridiculous number. And the city purchased it with all the defects, now has what may be a very expensive problem to resolve. And so you bought a liability. it would appear everything in that report that Cedar Street is an even worse liability. So you're not looking at property versus property. The property down at the industrial park is clean, there's no indication there's any issues with it at all. It's every indication at Cedar Street, you may have $100,000 to $1 million problem with cleaning it up. And I think you need to, before you do anything else, is get proper appraisal. Proper structural condition to see if the building there is safe, to see if the property is safe for employees to go in, because you're already informed of issues. So you need to do full due diligence on this property. And I believe to proceed with approval at this time without further due diligence would be grossly negligent on the part of the city. Council members who voted through this action. And so I think you need to stop and look at this and not make the mistake of borrowing for the city what would be $1 million liability. I don't object to the concept of this transfer. That's the way it's been handled, the evaluation, and your total, in my judgment, lack of due diligence. Thank you.
Any more comments from the public? I'll close discussion from the public and we'll entertain a motion.
I'll motion that we approve resolution number 2023-R-004, a resolution to enter into an agreement with Dubuque County related to parcel ownership and to authorize the city administrator to administrate and execute agreements and contracts on behalf of the city council.
Do I have a second? Been proposed and seconded. The roll call, please.
Councilmember Calderon,
Yes.
Mayor Parr,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Yes.
Motion's been voted on and passed. Moving to item number 8. Resolution 2023-R-005. You're up.
Yep. Go to the next slide, please. Recently, just the planning commission considered a general plan amendment for the city of Gridley to change the general plan designation, land use designations from the various densities of R1, R2, R3, and R4, high density 1 and 2, and create a general plan designation of residential. Staff brought this forward to the planning commission for discussion just to see if there was an interest in doing so, and then returned to planning commission with an action. The planning commission proceeded to recommend that the city council also adopt the general plan amendment to designate all residential as just residential within the subsequent densities and land use types to be done through the zoning ordinance, which is appropriate. The reason that this has come forward is the state legislature has passed many not resolutions, but laws. SB 9 is one, 1428 is another. And what it essentially is doing is it's increasing densities within cities where you are then not consistent with the general plan. And when you have any development, you need to be consistent with your overarching general plan document as well as zoning. What did come out of the planning commission was that in the north area, which has not been annexed into the city, but is within the sphere of influence, on the map on the left-hand side, there's varying densities and land use designations in the general plan, which are R1, low density residential, R2, which is medium density, and then high density and very high density. It was pointed out that if we amend the general plan, what will happen with those designations for the implementation of the general plan, which was a good observation that was done by Mr. Coughlin. The planning commission considered that and then wanted to bring forward to the city council that we do a pre-zone. We can't zone the property, but we would pre-zone the property in order to capture and maintain the land use designations that are shown in our general plan. So on the right-hand side, you see the general plan being just residential, but we will follow this action if it's supported with the pre-zone of the properties, maintain the land uses that are identified with the general plan that was adopted in 2010 as the 2030 general plan. I reached out to LAFCO. Typically, we pre-zone during an annexation process, as we just did with the Bernard project, as well as the Stenville project through annexation. And a pre-zone rides along with that, the council considers. LAFCO responded by saying that they would very much like to see these land outside pre-zone because it facilitates their process much easier. It reduces the time that it takes to analyze it to see if it works or not. So they're in support of the city's pre-zoning. Evidently, other jurisdictions do this all the time. I don't think that the city of Gridley has, but this is a proactive effort to ensure that our general plan is consistent with all zoning within the city. And I'm happy to answer any questions about this.
Discussion? Yes. I'll open it up to public discussion. Don't see any public discussion. I'll yes, for your motion.
Motion to approve, let's see, that's number 5. 2023 -R-005. Second.
I have a second.
Mayor Farr?
Did I hear a second?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought you said. Sorry. Mayor Farr?
Yes.
Councilmember Calderon?
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez?
Yes.
Vice Mayor John?
Yes. Motion passed. Move to item number 9, resolution 2023-R-006. Administrator.
Mr. Mayor and Council, we have our city engineer on the line here. He's probably the best person to articulate what we're trying to accomplish. The bottom line is the city staff recommends that the mayor and council adopt the initial study and mitigated negative declaration via resolution respecting Gridley Feather River Sewer Crossing Project. Dave, you want to give some additional background?
Yeah, thank you, Cliff and council. So as you know, we've been working on this Feather River Sewer Crossing project for quite a while now. We have had environmental consultants do their biological assessments and their cultural reviews and have put together the CEQA documents so that we can move forward with the project, both in this planning phase that we're in right now, so that we're able to get borings within the river, and also for the next phase for construction. So this document encompasses both of those phases and puts us in compliance for the grant application. So yeah, that's what's before you right now. We just are looking for your adoption of the CEQA document so that we can file it with the state and the county and move forward with the project.
Any questions or discussion from council?
So there was no significant findings, correct, since the report isn't included in the agenda?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Oh, so then was there any significant findings in the report? I know that it wasn't attached to the agenda, but you did mention it was available for the public.
Yeah, and it will be posted, like I said, on the state clearinghouse site and with the county. As far as I know, there were no significant findings. I did not read the entire document, but the mitigation report that goes along with it is what carries us through the projects and the both phases of the project. And so those are the guidelines that we set as we move into construction. As you guys may or may not know, but there has been cultural resources found in previous projects along the Feather River. So those are definitely a high priority to be, that we'll be looking out for and monitoring and reporting on. Fingers crossed, none are found in our projects. We have very small footprint of ground disturbance. The first phase only has 8-inch boreholes, and then the second phase has a couple of pits. With the project in mind, there's not a significant impact, which is why it's a mitigated negative declaration as opposed to a full EIR.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dave, what do you think this project would get started, or do you have an idea?
So there are quite a few jurisdictional hoops that we're jumping through. We are hoping to get our borings in the river done in 2024. There's just no fast way to get through Army Corps and Flood Protection Board permitting, even for something as small as 3 little holes in the riverbed. So we're doing everything we can to push it along and get the water board to come on board and help, move those processes along as well. But there's just no fast way to do it. I will be coming back to council in the next couple of months. We're hoping to have the amendment to the water board grant approved by the state. So the planning phase, because of the delays, because of the extra work that's required, they've agreed to basically foot the bill and extend the project out so that we can make sure we have a good feasible project to move forward during construction. So that'll be coming, and at that point, I'll do a big update and lay out where we're at. But for right now, it's just the approval of the CEQA document that I have for you.
Okay. Council, any discussion? Any discussion from public? No indication, open for motion.
Yeah, I'll move to approve resolution number 2023R-006, a resolution of the city of Gridley certifying and adopting final BWA plus initial study and mitigated negative declaration report and the mitigation monitoring and reporting program for the Feather River Sewer Crossing projects, dates January 2023.
Here's a second.
Okay. Oh,
Go ahead.
no.
Your turn. Been approved and seconded. Have roll call, please.
Councilmember Calderon,
Yes.
Mayor Park,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to item number 10. Contract award for local roadway safety plan preparation.
Mr. Mayor and Council, the state of California has undertaken policy changes that require local jurisdictions to develop an LRSP, local roadway safety plan. It's a framework that allows municipalities to identify and analyze and prioritize areas of our road systems that represent significant hazard. Last year, our engineer went out for an RFP. There were 2 bidders that provided a response to the RFP process. We did engage a committee to evaluate those respective bids, each being approximately 70 pages in length. And after that particularly exciting process, it was determined that TJKM Corporation, consultants, was the most appropriate responded to our RFP. And again, this particular plan will be grant funded with approximately $36,000 in grant funding, $4,000 in matching funds from our CIP. Any questions? Unfortunately, this represents one of a raft of state requirements that we're now subject to, and it's probably a very good thing actually for us to develop an authoritative assessment of where the critical nodes that represent hazards for our community are, so that we can take mitigation steps to reduce potential accidents.
Can't have enough information.
Does that include like placing stop signs or?
Ultimately, the analysis will shape and inform all of those decisions, yes.
Okay.
Any discussion? Open to the public, any discussion from the public? Have none, is this, do we need to vote on this?
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion.
Here a second?
I'll second.
And motion seconded?
Councilmember Calderon,
Yes.
Mayor Farr,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Motion passed. Go to city council committee reports.
The Association of Governments didn't meet last month. The Clean Air Management Group did. We welcome new members and elected officials. And I believe we had a closed session, so I can't say anything about that. The other item I have to say something about, I met with two new employees from behavioral health that have been assigned to the Gridley office. One of the new employees is actually a local young man who went to school here and graduated from our high school in Chico State. And he's going to be working with at-risk clients like or incident back in January 2nd here. So we can avoid that. And I met with them and I basically stressed the fact that we don't want another fatality, tragedy like that for negligent case management. I was very, I stressed this very forcefully. And let them know that I'm a resource for them as long as they seek my counsel. I met with them right here at the board meeting, at the board room, and I hope that this new young man, I believe he was hired as a result of that incident. And he knows the community pretty well. He knows everybody, went to school here. So I hope he becomes very committed.
What's his name?
His name is Javier. His mom, I actually know his mom since I was in high school. Her name is Esther. She used to work at Wilson Elementary in the office. Everybody knows her. It's her son. So I was very happy about this new young man, local, working with our residents. Yeah.
I attended the California City's new council member training. It was very educational. And Learned a lot.
All I have to report is, I've got 2 meetings coming up on Wednesday. Hopefully I can make those, but I have a LAFCO meeting. We did finally approve one of the last islands in the Chico area and incorporate it with the city. Got to have the county part of it. Actually, there's 2. I did attend a meeting this morning. And I sat in for Mike, and it's a committee that selects who's going to be on LAFCO. So the mayor of Oregon wasn't elected, so he was our alternate. So we had to choose an alternate, and we voted to put Biggs over Shepherd as an alternate. So that's the only 2 things that I actually want to know.
No, thank you.
City administrator.
I'll just try to be brief. You know, we have had a certain evolution of events relative to the Highway 99 shop project. We are in a complicated relationship with our state agencies, sister agency, Caltrans. The council gave staff some very clear direction as to what we were prepared to do and prepared to not do with respect to the city's cooperation in that shop project. And I would just share with you that, you know, at first, the city's position was not well received by decision makers in Caltrans, but we have a very strong ally in Yvonne Garcia with BCAG. Our partners at BCAG and with these various county agencies leverage our ability to punch above our weight. And as a consequence of his pledge of an additional some $700,000, he helped Caltrans decision makers to see the light, or at least be more receptive to a more collaborative discussion, which was productive. The consequence of that, one of several consequences, is council had previously authorized a commitment level of up to $400,000 or $500,000 for our participation. BCAG was able to identify additional grant funding that will reduce our participation to about $98,000. We have the ability to use our state transportation dollars, our LTF funds. We have several options available to us. So it not only, you know, working with BCAG as a partner agency, leveraged our position successfully, and it's trending towards an outcome that will be a dramatically improved roadway with an 8 to 10 foot sidewalk on the east side, plus landscaping. In addition to, Caltrans has identified, because we're talking about the development of an affordable housing complex in Orchard, they have found the funding to connect the sidewalk on that west side as well between Subway and the north end of Orchard View development, which will be a pretty significant step forward in terms of connecting the residents on that section of road. So the bottom line is we're in a complicated relationship with Caltrans, but we have agency partners and allies that significantly leverage the objectives of the city of Gridley, and those relationships matter a great deal, and we're grateful for their help and support. And finally, just wanted to remind the council that I have the opportunity to attend the city manager, city administrator event down in San Diego area. It's a pretty terrible place to have to go for a couple of days, but I'll be going and carrying the flag on behalf of the city.
Very traumatized.
I may need to seek some.
Can you wear that red divide down there?
That's my report.
Sounds positive. I think we're done. Everything done, so I'll adjourn meeting.